Timken 1111, or sometimes referred to as the Timken Four Aces, was a 484 Northern-type steam locomotive built in 1930 by Alco. And some of you may be a little confused because, wait, Timken? Like Timken Roller Bearings? Why would the locomotive be named that? Well, that is because, simply put, this locomotive was built for Timken as a demonstration unit for their new roller bearings produced by the company. What you're looking at is the first locomotive built with all sealed roller bearings, rather than plain bearings or a combination of the two. They chose a 484 on which to demonstrate the roller bearings, so the locomotive could be used for all types of work. And 52 manufacturers agreed to supply parts for the locomotive on account, until she operated over 100,000 miles. Their names would be placed on a plaque that was attached to her tender for the duration of the demonstration period. The thing about Timken's roller bearings is that they were good. Like really, really good. Like much better than regular plain bearings were. And 1111 was built to show how much better they would be. Her first demonstration runs were hauling freight on the New York Central Railroad, and she'd be subsequently used on 13 other major railroads, which included Chesapeake and Ohio, New Haven, and the Pennsylvania Railroad, for both freight and passenger service. And she performed excellently. In particular, on the Pennsylvania Railroad, they had her haul 12 passenger cars through the Allegheny Mountains, and she did that so well that she didn't even need any helpers, and arrived at her destination 3 minutes early. There were also numerous publicity stunts that involved her being pulled by as few as 3 men, and actually in Chicago it was 3 women. The point of these stunts was to show that the roller bearings produced so little friction that something as large as a northern-type steam locomotive could be moved by, well, people. Very few people. Mind you, she and her tender at working load weighed over 300 tons, so yeah, this was pretty impressive. By August of 1931, she had run over 90,000 miles, when she would be delivered to the Northern Pacific Railroad, who would be the 15th railroad to demonstrate her. With a dynamometer car in tow, she was able to sustain speeds as high as 88 miles per hour while pulling the North Coast Limited passenger train past Willow Creek, Montana. Although, while she was in service with Northern Pacific, she suffered severe crown sheet damage. Timken was, of course, furious that they had ruined their locomotive and demanded that Northern Pacific fix her. But Northern Pacific refused to repair a locomotive they didn't even own. But by the time this happened, she had just crossed the 100,000 mile mark. And so, in order to deal with the issue, Timken agreed to sell 1111 to Northern Pacific. They would get some money out of her, and Northern Pacific would get a new locomotive, which they now had to fix, but were willing to fix because they now owned her. Under them, she was actually renumbered though, to 2626, and she was given her own classification, A1, though she would be that class's only member, as she was a completely unique type of locomotive. She was used in passenger service between Seattle and Yakima, Washington, then was shifted to passenger trains between Seattle and Missoula, Montana. Northern Pacific would use 1111 for 23 years, before she was finally retired from active service. Her last run was on August 4th, 1957, when she pulled a passenger train from Seattle to Cle-Elum and back again. During her time with the company, it was reported that she had covered 2.1 million miles and consumed 80,000 tons of coal, 9 million gallons of fuel oil, and more than 17.5 million gallons of water. But given the fact it was dieselization time, you can probably see why she was being retired, but there was hope for her at first. Timken was hoping to preserve their demonstration locomotive. They wanted to return her to the company's Canton, Ohio headquarters under her own power. Northern Pacific was willing to hear them out, but unfortunately, this was not to be. 1111 would be scrapped prior to any arrangement between the two companies being finalized. And as a result, the sole example of this particular locomotive was lost to time. Which is a real shame because she was unique, and she demonstrated the ability of those roller bearings. They were genuinely good things, and many other types of locomotives would benefit from utilizing them. It's just a shame that the original demonstrator wasn't able to be saved. And with that, a special thank you to all my underwater train finders, Some Dude 267, Orange Glass, Benjamin Owens, Panzer Kitsune 131-232, Anzac A1, Arthur Roy, Brian, Jack Cross's River Videos, Lord Off 444, Mark Holding, Murder Drone Stall, A Person 723, Royal Hudson 2060, Iserfer 1405, Charles Kwiatkowski, Matt Weaver, Tom Redline, Ennis Productions 8104, Hendrick Motorsports Fan 5, Wheeljack 8401, Rescues Greyhounds, The Baxter, Caleb Crosswhite, Ohio Trucker 1, Andrew Bowen, Josh Johnson, Hayden DeGrow, Caleb Rainwaters, Prez Drenton, Master of None, The Oklahoma Hot Rail, Liam Wright, Mr. Sleepy, Travis Dolinsky, Jared Brussel, Dr. Racer 78, Joshua Long, Hannah Bird, Amtrak 2024 Productions, Tommy Rossini, and That Guy with a Beard. Till next time, this is Darkness, and a big world of fun. Farewell.